right. We doing okay right here, right now. This is Black Power Media, and this right here is the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and let me introduce you to your host for the day. You have no other than Kamal, K, Frank, and Dr. Jared Ball. All right.
And I'm doing better than okay. I don't know,
Are you doing fantastic today?
I'm doing great as always, man. Especially when we all on here. And I love the shirt come out. You still feeling the vibe off of yesterday's impromptu reunion?
Feels like every Monday is an impromptu reunion. Or every other Monday.
Tuesday.
And I did that all day yesterday.
Yeah.
I was telling people, it won't arrive until Tuesday. They're like, today. I said, are you, I'm getting into it. I'm like, are you stupid or something? I said, Tuesday. It won't arrive. And they're like, and I'm like, oh, my bad. That's y'all.
I'm on BPM time. It's not CP time. It's BPM
right,
time.
It's BPM time.
Hey, come out. I heard they throwing rocks at the stone. They throwing stones at the throne.
Who's that? Whoa! What you talking about, son?
They throwing stones at BPM, man. I'm hearing out in the streets. They coming for people like Jared, man. What's good?
Yeah, they can. Yesterday, so let me tell you all about my day yesterday, real quick. Shout out to Eugene. Welcome, Eugene. Let me tell you about my day yesterday, real quick. So yesterday, so Friday, I did the show with Dr. Asi Lumumba, and then we talked to Omawale Africa about Malefi Asante. Where he has doubled down now, accused me of defending queer theory, and BPM by extension. Then Monday I did a show interviewing Barrett Brown, where taken entirely out of context, some trans activists have claimed that I am attacking them and have written my university and all kinds of stuff. So throughout the day yesterday, I went from being accused of being anti-trans to being pro-trans. And then in between, in my Black Studies class, and I know, I love all my students equally, but one of my favorites gave a presentation on her chapter. We all select chapters in the book and they present on it. And she did her chapter. The chapter she selected was on the Black woman's movement in Abdul Al-Kalimat's book. And she said she was, quote, hurt by the little attention paid. And she counted it and said it's the shortest chapter in the book. The Black and when and then didn't accuse me of anything. We actually had a very good discussion about what was going on, but was sharing that she felt that women were not done well and done right by in this book. So it was just a very interesting day. That did culminate with Omawale going and he has gone full in on with promotional materials and everything that Jared Ball. He's doing a paywall protected presentation this week, apparently, on Jared Ball, the Black left defenders of queer theory. So
I watched it, dude. I watched it. After all, there was like, after hearing all the back and forth conversation, I was like, okay, let me watch this or whatever like that. It's so weird to me because I feel like, one, I just, for our folks, I'm going to say us, our straight folks, it's always like people feel like they're going to catch something because they stand around somebody gay. I'm like, it's like, it seems like this whole attitude about like, you know what, if someone is gay, they're gay. What do you, and then they go back. I mean, this is like a surface thing, but more importantly, his whole argument of essentializing what Africa is or what Africans are. And it's a very narrow view of what it is and the center of Africa. And I'm like, and that's the society you want to create out of it. You sound like an autocrat. So what are you going to do when people come up with different ideas and distinctions, sexual idea-wise or otherwise? They're going to be put in prison, in jail? Are they separated from everybody else? I mean, that's kind of like this. The theory just leads to like, okay, normal is what I tell you normal is. That's the definition of normal and or accepted practices. And then the history is off base because he doesn't deal with the fact that across Africa, there's different strains of a whole bunch of things, and some of them are terrible things. Like, are we going to keep female genital mutilation because it was a practice in some regions of Africa before the white man came? Does that make it proper? So it's like the logic makes no sense. It's like, so can you not parse out what are things about African history that need to be carried forth and are important to us and that we want to either reintroduce or highlight as culture, and at the same time suggest that there's some things in culture that we just don't need to carry on. And by and I heard the thing, his remark on pedophilia, and I'm like, well, look, if you're using the Western definition of pedophilia, there's a lot of African cultures where 25, 30, 35, 40-year-old men marry 13-year-old girls.
Listen, so I don't disagree with anything you said. I think the biggest issue I have with all that happened yesterday is, except for what happened in my class, I just kind of threw that in because it involved gender, and yesterday was a very gender and sexual identity day for me. But is that I don't. It's not even the specifics of people's positions on this. It's the disingenuousness that is brought to the conversation. Omawale was invited to this space, as we've interacted a number of times, even in person, and we don't always agree, and it's cool. That's fine. To then he and then after the show, I said, thanks for coming on. He said, it's always a pleasure to dialogue with you, Dr. Ball. Then he sends me a bunch of stuff in private message about queer theory and pedophilia, like these lectures and all this stuff. And I wrote back, I said, I'm not interested in that. And I said, but again, this isn't my point. I think my point was lost, which is, in this case, I don't know anything about queer theory. I'm not defending queer theory. I'm simply saying, as a Pan-Africanist, all Africans. So I'm not getting into the debate about who they're sleeping with, what their gender, sexual identity is. If they're African people, they should be part of the Pan-African struggle. That was my only point. So he wrote back one word, interesting, and then I kind of knew what that meant. And then he went off and did what he did. That's the part that I think is disingenuous. There was no, let's have a debate, let's follow up, let's discuss this, let's have another conversation, let's look at what Jared said and criticize it. It's none of that. It's I'm just gonna go off and got him. and and the same thing with the trans thing. Like they're writing my university and clipping excerpts totally out of context and leaving out the fact that our specific discussion had nothing to do with being critical of trans people or people who want to transition. It was specifically to point out that the name change in one case was documented as being about hiding their relationship to the intelligence community, not about their decision to transition to in this case, I think I'm not even actually sure at this point. But my point was, that wasn't my issue. I don't have an issue with trans people. I have an issue with the politics that any group engage in. And in this case, if you are looking to mask yourself in a transition to hide your affiliation with the intelligence community, that I think is something different from a critique of or anything else. But anyway, all of that was thrown out, the nuance, the specifics. So anyway, all of that, all that to say, it was a very interesting day. I stand by everything that I said. I'm happy to learn and be critiqued and et cetera and so on and so forth. But the disingenuousness is what I think is some foulness. And this whole thing of, because he said something that I disagree with, I'm going after his employment and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, I'm like, y'all are just shady. That's shady. And very intelligence agency like. So if that was your point, to prove me wrong on that, you're missing it on that one as well. But so yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna say this in mind. I don't even know what queer theory is, but I know if I'm in a desert and there's an alien with a cup of water, I'm gonna go drink that water. I don't care what type of who it is, what it is. If it's necessary, I'm gonna go get that water. I'm gonna drink it. You heard? I'm gonna say that in mind.
Goodbye.
Yeah. Anyway,
we'll come back.
So anyway, come out. That's
Yeah.
what's going on.
Well,
Over
yeah,
here,
I definitely understand your points and where you know, like the disingenuousness of a conversation. One of the worst things is to feel like you have a conversation, and again, whether or not you agree or disagree, that someone has the ability to come back to you and say, I want to do this way and continue with this conversation, giving you a chance or a choice. But then to throw your name out there and to put it behind a paywall and to use it to try to set you up in a certain position or place, you know. I also think, you know, for me as an
Mhm.
outside listener, I just thought the view, in addition to, you know, that is like the views and the way in which sexuality gets talked about is very static and again autocratic in terms of, so what are you going to do around implementation? This idea about, you know, the natural thing in procreation. It was like, well, if that's the case, then, you know, 95% of sexual acts should be outlawed because they got nothing to do with procreation, no matter who's doing them. So I'm just, you know, so for me, it's also about a stance that gets taken to kind of justify the fact that you are, you know, whether or not I heard him say he doesn't accept the term, but just whether or not you're homophobic, whether or not it's just something that you just, you know, you just don't like, and I'd rather you say that than to create all these African centered reasons for why homosexuality cannot be part of a revolutionary grouping, or homosexual can't be part of a revolutionary grouping, and so therefore we must show why they're not African in nature or something like that.
The only other thing that bothers me is that he sat there with a George Jackson book, and you know, proudly, you know, claimed to have, you know, at least read or to use George Jackson's work. So I think that, you know, so what is that then? That because precursing, well, prefiguring what I understand to be today's queer theory is Huey Newton's argument around that. So is he? Are you saying now Huey Newton and George Jackson are promoting queer theory? Is that going to be the argument next? But the only other thing I wanted to bring up real quick is that during the interview, it's interesting that I called out his boy Irritated Genie for doing the same thing to me. Getting a public response about my views of Pan-Africanism and the LGBTQ community, from my point of view, should be included in that Pan-African struggle, and then clipped that and had his boy put that on YouTube saying that Dr. Ball supports the LGBTQ agenda. So I'm like, there's a playbook that they work from. But it's all good. But listen, there's more important things we're going to get to this morning, even starting right up where you come from there, Kamal. Big news coming out of that region, of course. But let's get to the ear doctor first. Let's bring him back up here and get busy back at the barbershop. That's what's up.
That's right. We actually yesterday we talked about doing top 5 DJs. So we at the shop chopping it up. So
Let me
that's
hear
what
it.
we'll get into. And later,
Yeah, this is
y'all
gonna
will
be good.
understand the statement I just made.
Oh wow. Remix.
What's good, everybody? What's good, everybody? Welcome out. Welcome out once again. This is the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button if you haven't already, notification bell so you can know all the dope stuff that's coming right here on Black Power Media. And go to patreon.com and drop some chains in the bucket so we can keep this movement going. All right, with that said, we was talking about my top 5 DJs, and I'll explain why. First, let's start off with no other than, since we got this plan, no other than Jam Master Jay. That's right. Why Jam Master Jay? Because that guy was a one-man band. He got behind them turntables and rocked out while Run DMC was doing a thing. He also helped produce and make music, put other people on. And I mean, one of the first DJs I seen that really had his whole together and ready to rock in front of a big show. So, yo, big up to Jam Master Jay, RIP. Next, let's take it to no other than Kid Capri. That's right. Why I say Kid Capri? Kid Capri is one of the best party rockers I've seen. That's right. When it comes to throwing on dope hits and classics and getting the party going, Kid Capri is one of the best I've seen. Next, let's take it over to DJ Premier. Why DJ Premier? Because if you look at any hip hop track, this guy has scratched over so many hip hop tracks, produced so many hip hop tracks, and at the same time, he's just nice. He's one of the best DJs ever. Next, I'm gonna take it to The Godfather. I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for DJ Kool Herc. Let's get that straight off the top. Hip hop forever. I'm just gonna say that in mind. Next, let's take it to DJ Jazzy Jeff. That's right. This dude right here is remarkable on the turntables. You talking about juggling, going back and forth, scratching, all that. This guy is a beast. He's been doing it for years, and he's a man. So those are my top 5. Other than that, I must say this right here. Locally, DJ Kemet. DJ Kemet here in Atlanta, he's been DJing with Arrested Development, and he's came up doing a big function called House in the Park here in Atlanta that brings out thousands. He's a producer and DJ. He knows how to play every genre, and that's what I definitely like about a DJ that can play every genre. And that's what it is for the day. Those are my top 5 plus 1. Now let's take it back to the Remix Morning Show. All right, let's go. All right. Oh, big up to DJ Kool.
It's a respectable list. Thank you
very much.
You know what I'm saying?
I just want. I don't know if I blacked out for a second, but rest in peace to Rock Raider, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I don't know if he made your list.
No,
and DJ Boogie Blind, who tours with Pharoah Monch, is on my list as well.
DJ Hugh?
Boogie Blind from Harlem. Championship. He's won a couple international, I think, in national competitions as well. You ever watch the DMC joints?
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, I like that stuff.
Terminator X is on mine. Terminator
X? Okay.
What's that about? Come on now.
As a DJ?
I mean, yeah, that's what I was like.
He would scratch it up.
What else he do?
I'm not talking to y'all.
Well, that's my top 5 for the day.
Right on. Appreciate you, Ear Doctor. Hey, so let's get to something more important than certainly what we started off with. In terms of some national and local and world news. Let's slap that map and get busy this morning in the Remix Morning Show. All right. Welcome back to the Remix Morning Show here at Black Power Media. So Kamal, I don't have any updates or particular news, but or updates on this story. But there's the last I saw and seeing here is that they're still looking for a person of interest in the Brooklyn subway shooting, and I guess some kind of bombing. Was it smoke bomb or some sort of something in that was dropped in the train. 29 injuries. I'm not sure. Let's see. Person
so
of
far,
interest.
no deaths.
Okay, no deaths.
Shocking.
Okay, which is crazy. So yeah. They found a U-Haul key, which led them to a van in Brooklyn. They said the renter in the van is someone named Frank James, 62, is now a person of interest. But authorities said no one is in custody amid a manhunt for the shooter who fired a Glock 17 9mm handgun at least 33 times into a subway car
on the N train.
Yeah, so
and the N train is not I mean, there's stops that are popular, but I'm like, you shoot up the N train, B? I'm just like, that's a side note. That's a side note about your targets.
What is? I'm not getting the joke. I mean, what?
Well, I'm just saying, of all the trains in New York City, subway, lore, or whatever, like, the N train is just like where you at? That's your target. That's all. The A, the 2, the 3, the 4. You know what I'm saying? There's so many better trains that are central to like everything. The N train is just one of those trains that it's like sometimes it's treated as this. It's like a mystery train. You don't get on the when you get on the N train, you're like, oh, where the fuck am I going now? I'm on the N train. Where am I headed? So that's all I meant by that. But it's like, yeah, but the part of the story, I mean, this guy the person they're looking for. I mean, this is he comes in with a gas mask. And obviously in today's world where people are protecting themselves from COVID, I know one or two other people. I got nervous at first because when I heard the gas mask, it was like this person I know. I was like, and they said some connection to Philadelphia, and I was like, wait a minute, I think I know somebody. But anyway, but that you can get away with that these days and have a gas mask, and obviously because you're outwardly or whatever protecting yourself from COVID. And then like you said, he threw 2 canisters, started shooting up the place. All these police that we pay for, people have been making note of this. All the cameras, they said several cameras were not working. And this person is still on the loose. But yet, as someone mentioned a couple of days ago, I mean, a day or so ago when the incident took place, is like they can't find this one person, but they can sure kick everybody off who's homeless and arrest them off the subway train. So that's what they spend their time doing. But when something serious happens, not only can they not prevent it by their very presence, which we're told is needed to prevent crime, but now we're talking about a manhunt going into a second or third day for a particular act that you would think was already caught on videotape in several places, if all the money that was spent made equipment that was properly used and working.
Yeah, it just sounds like a terrifying incident, and yeah. Anyway, I think anything else I would say be inappropriate at this point. So we just keep watching what's going on, and I mean, the real thing I keep thinking is we really got. I mean, it's just that vague thing. We need that revolution because we need to redistribute some goods and services around here, get more people some more help to prevent more of this from coming. Because I can't believe not more people got killed or anybody got killed.
Oh, that's amazing.
And on some level, I'm not shocked by how often this stuff is going on. So I mean, on some level, it's almost to be expected that more of this kind of stuff is going to happen. So anyway, speaking of more, and you mentioned yesterday the ongoing call to support Daruba bin Wahad, who continues, of course, to need support and deserves support, but just getting word, though she wasn't able to make it today, Kim is doing, of course, the work of keeping everybody informed on what people need to be informed on. So Kim is letting us know that in a statement from family and friends of Eddie Conway, that he has also fallen ill. So we have another veteran, political prisoner and member of the Black Panther Party who is in need of some help. And I will say, look, as much as I've hated on the Real News Network and will continue to, I have to say that to their credit, and even the credit of Paul J., who was running it at the time, I know he's not there anymore, and all the issues I had with him personally, he gave Eddie a job. Mm-hmm. And he has given Eddie, and put Eddie in position to get at least, I'm assuming, I would hope, some basic health care that he wouldn't have been able to get coming out of prison. And it wasn't like there was a whole bunch of people with a whole bunch of money beating down the door to hire him, and gave him space to not only do good journalism, but good political work post his incarceration. And Eddie came right out and got right busy. So, I mean, so shout out to him. I got to give him credit for that.
In fact, real quick, the first, I obviously, like everybody who did work on political prisoners, knew of Eddie inside the joint, but he was in Baltimore region, and I was obviously in New York. But when Eddie first came out, I was working at American Defense Service Society as this,
That's right.
the
Yeah.
Southern regional director, and we actually gave Eddie his first position coming out. When he came out, he was close to the folks who were doing work in Baltimore, and shortly thereafter that he connected with Real News. And you're right, they gave him a great hookup, right? And he did work, reporting work, issues oriented work, talked about the things that are important in terms of movement. And he's been there, it feels like at least close to a decade, if not, reporting and talking about movement work and so forth. So did not know about this information until you put it up there. So of course, wishing Eddie the best and hopefully some kind of recovery if that's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. It says here that we write you today and ask for prayers and support for our beloved Marshal Eddie Conway, who has fallen ill over the past few weeks. Eddie is currently hospitalized and will need long-term care and support for his healing and recovery. We're reaching out to the vast community of folks who love Eddie and ask you to send prayers for his swift total recovery. We know Eddie will pull through this, as he has many other challenges in his life, thanks to the ancestors, family, and community. We ask that you please respect his family's needs for space at this time. To tend to Eddie's care, please reach out to Erica Woodland, ewoodland@gmail.com, if you have any questions for additional offerings of support. All power to the people. So right on, and speedy recovery to Eddie Conway for sure. Yeah, it was weird. He was one of the few political prisoners that I visited while he was incarcerated and then saw come out, which was, it's powerful in and of itself. But, anyway. One bit of news just quickly that I, again, also, and this one is news to me, and I don't know anything about the context here, so I'm just sharing it just so we're up to date as a community on the basics, that there is a new prime minister of Pakistan now, apparently known as a Steel Dynasty scion. Shahbaz Sharif inherits an ailing economy among political turmoil. Kamal, I don't know if you followed any of this or know anything about the context here, but which I don't, so I'm just going to leave it at that.
Only a little bit. The former prime minister who was just replaced, folks are saying part of it is that he fell out of favor with the military, and as folks probably already know, that the military in Pakistan holds a tremendous amount of power. In fact, it often decides often decides who gets to be prime minister, and in a case like this, how long that prime minister lasts. The former prime minister also seemed to be pulling away from American support of the Pakistani military and challenging America and trying to have closer allies in the region who were on America's enemies list. And so people are pointing to reasons of that nature as to, and the military itself had came out and said that it wanted to have closer ties and to heal the bonds with the United States over various issues that have sort of separated the two political parties in the past. So I think some of that, the speculation is that a lot of that led to some of the parties that were supporting the former prime minister breaking away, and the Congress itself, the Parliament making a vote of no confidence, which led to his removal. But my understanding is that he's going to run again for prime minister, and we're in a sort of gearing up for a heated election cycle in Pakistan, and so there's a lot of eyes on it. But so this is not just simply a case of some mass movement to overthrow a leader, but this seems to be, as a lot of these things usually are, some behind the scenes work to oust somebody who, again, the military in Pakistan did no longer wanted to be the leader and felt was sort of jeopardizing or moving away or taking away some of the strength and the position of the military, and particularly its closeness to the United States and the U.S. foreign policy interests. So,
Right on. Yeah, it does say he's going to serve as prime minister until the next general election next year. So, all right, right on. So we covered this a little bit. I'm not sure if you said anything about it yesterday. I don't remember hearing this brought up yesterday, but we started talking about this when the news broke about Elon Musk jumping in and Twitter. But apparently he is backing off Twitter off the board at least, and opens the door to a hostile takeover. So as was reported here by CNBC, billionaire Elon Musk's reversal of his decision to join Twitter board is likely to drive volatility in the stock. Twitter shares fell on the news of Musk's reversal during the pre-market trading, but rose 2% Monday morning. Analysts now wonder if Musk will pursue a hostile takeover of Twitter without the constraints he would have had on the size of his stake in the company. So I guess that was it. If he stays off the board, he can have a bigger stake in the company and perhaps take it over. Right. Musk's decision not to join Twitter's board means he's no longer limited to owning just 14.9% of the company. I don't know to what extent they're real, and I always hesitate to use commercial media for anything other than critique. But when I watch these series on, whether it's Succession or Billions or this latest one on the founding of Uber, I mean, or the Theranos Elizabeth, what's her name story. I mean, all of these, there are these constant themes that run through that is always, it's like these personal ish, like people's shortcomings with their ego and and all, and or just being, just greed and avarice. And I mean, how much can I get? How much can I manipulate? How many can I maneuver? And then here we are in real life watching, which seems to be a version of this, of course, involving one of the more prominent social media platforms and ultimately media outlets. And then what little I've learned about Musk over the years is also that he is a shady dude who takes credit for having done nothing. I mean, he doesn't have like he didn't create any of the things he's credited for. He just sort of moves in and has a sort of I don't know, a celebrity, cachet that he can manipulate to his benefit. I don't know.
I mean, he's definitely guided himself to being a multi-billionaire. So on the creative front, he hires people, or like you said, takes over things which are on the verge, and then builds them out. And this does seem to be a 180, because the news last week was like his willingness, and I think he's been a long time critic of the social media company and how it runs its business and so forth. So something must have happened in the last few days. And my first thought was, when I heard he pulled out, was that this is some sort of market ploy to get the stock up. People are buying, like going to sell, and as the stock starts to drop. But he is the largest shareholder. If what they're saying is true, it looks pretty like it could be set up for sort of a larger fight or something which he takes over. I wouldn't be shocked by that, because I think you are right. These things aren't driven by some need to advance. Something is driven by ego. It's driven by like just saying, I'm in charge of this. I can run this better, and I can make more money off of this or whatever. And again, someone who's been a long-term critic, who's been slowly buying up stock. Probably the current owners were thinking, we get this guy on the board, then we can just, hold him off for a few years or whatever. Let him have his input, let him feel like part of the team, and he'll leave us alone. And at some point he did a 180 and decided, well, no, I'm just going to try to take the whole thing over, potentially. At least that's what it seems like. So,
hey, in that again, I keep coming back to it. In that Uber series, the machinations of the board was fascinating, and this whole thing of who has, dude thought he was protected because he had super voting shares and all that, and somehow when rich people get together, they can start moving things and shaping things and creating narratives, and then they hit him with a media thing, and then they threaten all this other stuff. Like, there's all these other ways to manipulate people on the board, even if they seem to have a superior position. So I can see why he's saying, if I want the whole thing, damn the board.
Yeah, exactly. It's like what
Yeah,
who makes the board? The person who has the most shares. The person who can vote the
so
board.
I mean,
What was the one that you told us to watch? The on the drugs and
dope sick.
yeah. So those boys, the family boy, and obviously I know it's probably overplayed for Hollywood reasons, but that was sort of dramatic board maneuvering of pushing family members off, people feeling secure, talking down to feel like you're an idiot, nothing's going to ever happen, and boom, my man made a major play.
That's a great example because they're sitting around the dinner table and they're having all these personal things. I remember when you were a kid and you did. But the context is who's going to run this multi-billion-dollar drug company and impose drug addiction on all these mostly working people.
Mhm.
It's like, that's it. It takes these bullshit family dynamics and it imposes it on the rest of us just because they have all this money and they don't give a damn.
Yeah, the consequences of the actions were never there. They never considered. In fact, it was almost the opposite. It's like when they knew about the consequences, it was like, how do we cover that up? Or how do we make people think, like, let's get in touch with the FDA. We need a label.
And that was the argument about in terms of the family. It was like, we're only upset at you to the extent you put our wealth building potential at risk. Like, sicken everybody, you know what I mean? Get everybody addicted. We don't give a damn about that. Just don't stop the money. And Musk is sort of like, again, I'm not an expert on his life and history, but just reading a few things and about his career, it's clear like he is not the font of the genius of the technology, of the digital spaces, of any of these things that he's involved in. So if he becomes, so it's not like he wants to take over Twitter because he wants to revolutionize the technology and blah 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 for humanity. It's like it's just another. It's probably something real deeply personal at the end of the day for him, So anyway, speaking of something deeply personal in terms of Black communities, spaces, HBCUs, in a region of the country, I believe that Ear Doctor brought up yesterday and was asking if this was not, in fact, where Hampton University was, somewhere in Southern Virginia. This headline certainly looks interesting. HBCU Hampton University dissolves all student balances for spring 2022 semester. The COVID-19 pandemic is still the cause of financial hardships for many families, including those carrying a load of paying for college expenses. Hampton University, and HBCU in Virginia, has jumped at the opportunity to provide financial and economic relief from looming costs. Hampton University's president, Dr. William R. Harvey, announced that the university would be dissolving all outstanding student balances for the spring 2022 semester and will not increase tuition fees, room, and board for the upcoming year. That's
finally something decent.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's not entirely bad. Yeah, that's it. That's the story.
Meanwhile, Biden hasn't done anything.
Nope.
On the larger issue of student loans across the country, we still, associate colleges or 2-year colleges, the plan was before election to talk about how those may be free at some point. No movement on that whatsoever. So these individual colleges, if they're going to do anything, are going to have to do them on their own. And still, just because of how the system works, I'm sure the only reason they could do that is because some rich donor gave them money to allow them to retire the debt. You know what I mean? So the system is just broken where just everything depends on billionaires and some billionaire ethos of, I'm going to give money to uplift such and such and, be praised for it. And then the rest of us have to go, thank you, thank you, thank you, because apparently that's how the economy works, right? The government's not going to do anything for working class or poor people. They just make these promises, sit on their hands, and move on to the next thing that they really are interested in, which is some sort of international intrigue and warfare, which are benefiting the same billionaires who come back and give a couple of trinkets so that we can all sort of praise them and so forth. So,
yeah, what's the catch? What's up, Baba Balagoon? We haven't had experience for. Yeah, so one, just to be clear, clearing the balances, I don't think means is not a reference to student loan debt. It's I think more in line with what's described here, which is also helpful. It's in line with like student fees and I don't know, like dorm room fees and stuff like that. I don't think it's going to cover actual loans for attending the university, which I don't think the universities have particular control over. So, but Hampton also issued a $200 book scholarship. Dr. and Mrs. Harvey made a $100,000 matching donation, which provided each student on campus $100 to assist with travel costs. They sent direct deposits to, in May, the university sent direct deposits to each 2020-21 graduate with federal student loan of $500 toward repayment of that loan. Okay, students who did not have student loans received a reimbursement of. So that's so in terms of student loan debt, that's the extent of the help.
Now it's starting to sound minimal. I thought they were canceling from the headline. No. I thought they were canceling the semester's tuition of some kind.
No, it doesn't say tuition, and that's where
I understand, but the sounds a little.
Yeah,
and that's I mean, it's still, it's a decent thing to do. It ain't no life-changing thing, $200 for your books. These days that's one course. Right. Like, $200. That might even be one book, depending on what class you're taking these days. So
right.
So I'm not shitting on everything that they're doing, but folks are just trapped, and there's so many other models of how colleges could run. Again, other similarly situated European countries have free college tuition, free grad school tuition. Folks don't have to pay anything because it's already deducted from taxes for most of those institutions. And so there's really no reason that a country with this much wealth couldn't duplicate those processes, except that it does not have any desire to do so. And again, just throws these promises to all of us that it's going to do something one day if you vote for me. And then these things, they slowly drip off the table and you bring them up. And then the press secretaries, they get all angry at whoever brings it up, but never goes into the issue of like, but this was your campaign promise. This is what you said you were going to do. But it's like, now we got Ukraine to worry about.
By the way, get you some merch at blackpowermedia.org. It just occurred to me that my coffee does taste extra better this morning in this mug. But to Ricky's question, I think it's institutional in that Hampton is as an institution doing it, but it's there's the president's directive, and then there was the additional donation from the president and his wife to help students as well. So that I think institutionally the university is giving that $500 back to those with federal student loan debt. Yeah, that's right. Ukrainians were invited there in the same way, and these are again, yeah, absolutely.
But I mean that's an amazing intersection of interest. So the fact that would happen, right? That folks. So again, it's not an issue whether or not the country or people can put together money to afford such arrangements and so forth. The issue is what the will and desire to do so, and the lack thereof. And that's really what the issue is. So it's just such a corrupt system in that way. And again, I remember a few years ago at I think it was Howard, where I'm forgetting which billionaire, but it was the black billionaire. And I think it was Howard where he came and he canceled the student debt. Either Howard or Morehouse, but he canceled the student debt for a certain class, and obviously for that group of people, it was fantastic. But, the question really begs as to why is it such a random act of kindness that can determine, your financial future, as opposed to some policy at a government level that we're actually paying for and paying into. So we don't need billionaires to do, except what we need billionaires to do is pay their taxes. And if they pay their taxes, then we can use what we collectively think is best for the money to do things like ending student debt or making college tuition free and so forth and so on.
Yeah, that's what I was good. I see some in the chat. I don't think it was Robert Johnson, right? Was it? I thought it was somebody else. And did the money actually go through?
I think it did.
Okay.
I'm almost sure. Or I mean, he did. Whichever billionaire, it was a billionaire with a white wife. That's all I remember.
Robert Smith. That's what I.
Robert
think.
Smith,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That I mean, he did it at the commencement ceremony, if I'm not mistaken. So.
Because all I keep thinking is that episode of The Office where Michael Scott has to come back to them high school kids and admit that he didn't have the money he thought he was going to have that was going to pay their way through college that he had promised. He's like, and he said, "Why don't you just say? I think you know what I'm going to say. So why don't you just say it for me? You know, I don't have that money."
In this case, I think he did it.
Okay, well, but to your point, I think you're right. Like, why should it come down to a random act of kindness from a billionaire who would then the messaging, of course, is that this is why billionaires are good to have, and why it's good to try to become one. That's right, Scott's Tots. That's right. I knew I wasn't the only one out here watching that nonsense. That joint was hilarious. But yeah. So anyway, anyway,
yeah.
Good job for Hampton to do what little they could do. And to your point,
and to make sure there's a press release on it. And to make sure there's a press release,
right? Because they gotta get that.
Yeah, whatever you do, you got to build that up, no matter how small it is.
That's the other. The other
I'm sure the students are happy. Nobody wants to take away what the students are happy about, but whether or not this is the best way for us to run a financial system for education is a whole other question.
And no doubt, and of course, they would be happier if it was all free, if they didn't have any debt, as a result. So, like, but anyway, let's do we have time for one more before the ear doctor? I think we have time for one more. We got this story. Hey, I'm telling you, first of all, well, I should have brought that as a story. So there is a breaking story. So I'll just connect it to this as I pull this up. There is a breaking story about my main man. And this is not the story. This story is about 2 Black NFL coaches joining Brian Flores' discrimination against the league. But what I should have brought this morning, so again, shout out to May running things in the back, and shout out to Sister Erica for putting these stories together. But what I should have brought was the breaking news that my man Dan Snyder is getting the investigation on Dan Snyder and the Washington Now Commanders is going up to Congress. And it's looking like he's going to be charged with not only all the sexual abuse and discrimination and all of that, but the real problem, never mind what he did to those women, Kamal. He stole money from his fellow NFL owners by hiding revenue that he was supposed to share with them other, in Kalanji's absence, crackers.
Well, now you're talking. That will get you indicted. Quick, fast.
Yeah. Now you messed up. Abuse some cheerleaders. We'll just do a decades-long investigation and look into that.
Why were they wearing them short skirts? Why were they wearing them short skirts around them? I mean,
what do they call it? We're going to put a task force together.
Yeah.
And we'll look into that. But now they're saying no. They're saying he hid revenue, which is supposed to be because the owners don't mess around. They share their money.
Mm-hmm.
And the story and what I love about it is that the reason that they were able to determine that this was happening and what the amount was that because the Green Bay Packers are technically a publicly owned team, they had to reveal their cut of the $8+ billion revenue sharing that the NFL has. So they had to report that we got $273 million of our cut for last year.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came out that and apparently Dan Snyder was reporting some revenue less that was supposed to be part of that pie, that the other teams are supposed to get, obviously get a cut of. And so who cares about Brian Flores and racism and other coaches joining him? The white man stole from other white men, and now he got to go. So I said, if they get rid of Dan Snyder and keep the team that is again nicknamed as the Commies, now that the Washington Commies, I might come back. I'm coming back as a fan. I might have to come back.
I mean, there's always more money you can give to save a position. So I just don't. Yeah, I don't know if he's out. He'll just find that money someplace and be like, my bad, y'all. I did what we all used to try to do. I just got busted. I don't know. I don't know if that means he's out. There's always time to play.
No, the only hope is that they could force him to sell like they did with what's his name in the NBA. That would be the only thing. But this is the level of crime you have to get to,
or criminal charges. Which is
right. Yeah. But even beyond that, I think this is the kind. Like this is it. Like this is the one. It's not like killing somebody, running somebody over, discriminating against somebody, raping, and all that kind of stuff. Cut a check.
You could give a couple of Hail Marys.
But stealing from the commission, there's no honor among thieves.
Now you're in trouble. Now you're
in trouble. And that's where all that's what all the top dons get shot for. They steal from their other dons. Now you yeah, I'm with you on this. I have completely, I'm out of the NFL, but this might be it. So look, I thought we were about to have an ear doctor segment, but he's not even here anymore. So let's get to another news story. He left. He was like, I'm not even messing with y'all. He said, until the NFL, I'm going on strike until they either Dan Snyder or me. He said, I'm going to the moon. That's what he said. I'm out. I'm taking an Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson trip to the moon.
Oh, look at him flying up there. I put you on camera here, doctor, in case you didn't know that.
Yo.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, I'm on the screen?
Yeah, my bad. Yeah.
Yo, why is my screen is bugging right now? I can't see nothing.
Oh, you look great. We can hear you. You got the moon
behind you. We hear you and see you. You look great.
The sun that the earth is behind you with the sun. It's like one of your best images. It's too bad you can't see it though.
It's crazy. My computer's bugging right now, but you know how they do. Anyway, I did want to. Hey, so Jared, you do watch that show Billions, right?
I do.
Ain't nothing like the fakest smile in the world from this sister right here. The Wendy smile. Oh my God.
Is that a sister?
Well,
she ain't
no sister.
Not in that sense.
Oh, my bad.
But yeah, no, man. She has one of the best fakest smiles ever, I must say, and that is a good show. But anyway,
the dude said, I thought you said, you're not supposed to lie to yourself, and she said, I'm not. I'm lying to you.
Nice.
Yeah, I said, all right, yeah.
Well, yo, I'm gonna take y'all out of space, and then we're gonna get back to past, present, and future. In case y'all don't remember that, we're gonna go ahead and go there. So let's get it right here on Black Power Media. All right,
the remix.
Let's do that.
All right, what's good, everybody? Welcome out once again. This is the Remix Morning Show, and I am the Ear Doctor. So what we're gonna do right here, right about now, is we're gonna go into no other than the past, the present, and the future. All right. So, okay, my screen is back working. Yeah. All right. So here we go. Now, who am I going to talk about in the past that did their thing in this hip hop music? No other than, that's right, Salt and Pepper. They had an album called Hot, Cool, and Vicious. It's their debut studio album. It came out in 1986. It was one of the first albums to be released by an all-female group. Now this album was dope because it had songs on there like "My Mic Sounds Nice," check one. "My Mic Sounds Nice," check two. It had Showstoppers on there, Tramp. It was a dope album, one of their best, I must say. That has some heaters on there. This was even before the Now Spinderella is on there. All right, so who am I going to talk about in the present? Let's talk about no other than Missy Elliott. She had an album called The Real World. It's a second studio album. It came out June 22nd, 1999. This album is noted for her raunchier and darker style music. It was also known for her political use of the term bitch. That's right. She pretty much let them know that she is a mean bitch, and a lot of people from there started calling themselves bad bitches. Yeah, that's what that is. All right, now let's talk about the future. Now, we're going to talk about Young M.A. That's right. Young M.A., she has a album called Her Story. This is her debut studio album. This came out in September 27th, 2019. Young M.A. is from, where is Young M.A. from? She is from Brooklyn, I believe. That's right. And she pretty much has a swag considerably just like I would say Cameron. Her style, she talks about a lot of the, getting money, blah, 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 but she has a swag and a style that I'm pretty much feeling. So big up to Young M.A., big up to Missy Elliott, and big up to Salt and Pepper. Big up to all the ladies in hip hop. And that is past, present, and future. Now let's get back to the Remix Morning Show. Let's go, y'all. All right.
How was Missy's second album, The Present, though?
Huh?
When was that album released, Missy?
That was 99.
How was that The Present?
Because she's still rhyming. Next,
it's a stretch.
Still putting out music.
Yeah, it's a stretch.
Is she? I actually haven't heard from her.
Actually, I think she did put out a new album.
Oh, for real?
Nobody listened to it, but I think she did put out
stuff with like Lizzo and different tracks she dropped. So
I think after a certain age, you really got to stop with the, people ain't nobody looking for it no more.
Wait a minute. Why do we do that in hip hop, but we don't do it in Motown and all these other different?
We do. Nobody listening. We like people wait for Smokey Robinson to drop an album or something like that.
Oh wow!
Come on now. What are you talking about?
Oh wow!
Yo, you got Smokey did drop something that was trash rap. I forgot called about gangsters or pimps. I forget. It was terrible.
Smokey Robinson?
Yeah. Something about I'm gonna pull it up for next break. It's terrible.
I think y'all talked about that a couple of weeks ago where he said he did he did a Cosby-esque rhyme or poetry or something like that. I think I was surprised myself because I've heard Smokey sound. This is considering what we talked about earlier, I was going to say Afrocentric in particular, not like radical, but that could be quite.
Nah, Smokey did his Def Comedy Jam anti-Pan-African thing. That's how I remember him. The last time I saw him that's how long ago it was. He was up there talking about I'm not African, I don't have nothing to do with Africa, I'm black. And was like, wow, Smokey, okay.
Oh, that's right. Gang banging. He came out a song talking about gang banging.
Smokey Robinson. Is that his remix of Cruising? Now he meant Cruising is.
Oh my God! It was.
I'm not riding with my lady anymore. I'm riding to do a drive-by. Is that what he was doing?
Smokey back in the day, even with that that voice and everything, and the cream-colored skin. Smokey, he was up into the crack. You never know what he was doing back in the projects. And I think they were all up in the projects in Detroit or something like that. If I remember the story, it was something around either that's how he met Diana Ross or somebody like that. Like they were all like close. So my man had been running the streets in the 1950s.
Okay, no question.
Hey, who the only person that could do a versus with Smokey would probably be Marvin Gaye.
Marvin's dead though. How can
I know? Listen,
that was a joke. Oh, my bad. Oh, I got it.
Was he trying to do a Kamal?
I think he was. I think it was.
Is that-
I'm just
but-
saying, as in starting early, being in Motown and having a lot of singles and hits. I definitely would say that would be a nice
a nice versus.
Yeah.
Who else is around? Well, Diana Ross could do a versus Smokey. I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Does any?
Yeah,
I don't know.
No one's looking for that versus. No one's looking for that.
Well, according to you, no. Nobody wants to see old people anymore. just push them into the corner and move on. But just real quick though, you mentioned Bill Cosby. He came up again in this recent documentary on Hugh Hefner, or this series on Hugh Hefner and the Playboy history, which I've never paid attention to, but the series was fascinating, and these folks are dirty. And if the documentary is at all correct, Bill was the Bill Cosby thing he picked up maybe as a trend from Hugh Hefner, because Hugh was apparently walking around with pockets full of Quaaludes and dropping them on all the women that he could, as many as he could. So
yeah, if there's anybody who escaped prison via death, it's Hugh Hefner. I mean, this dude just came.
That's what they said in this series.
Yeah.
They said he died like right as it was about to break on him, and and apparently it was way worse than I think any of us might have even. I think we could have assumed certain things.
I was going to say we could have assumed that this dude was
certain
like 70
things.
years old, walking around in his bath towel with 20-year-old playmates, calling them his girlfriends and wives and maybe younger than that. You know what I'm saying?
And they were. And my thing was is that I would have assumed this was a sort of run-of-the-mill coercion in terms of entertainment and wealth versus lack thereof, like the old rich man type of thing. Mm-hmm. But it's way worse than that. Like, it's just worse than that. Yeah. So it's
and not surprised. Yeah.
I
remember because one of the things I always say about Cosby is those folks, late 60s, early 70s, sort of the drug culture. Not saying it should have been permissible or whatever, but that drug culture was mainstream for them. That was like Cosby just never stopped. Whatever.
But the mainstream for me, I thought mainstream meant we all got high. We all did coke. We all did Quaaludes. But the mainstream you're talking about is we all got them high so that we could abuse them.
Yeah,
and
I
that's
think that was
part
the mainstream for them.
Okay, but that part was what I'm saying is that.
I think they all got high.
I assume.
I just think they got them high sometimes without asking them to get them high, and they just thought it was cool to do.
Yeah,
it was the thing to do or whatever like that. I think it was that much a part of the culture. It feels like that they again in their minds they normalized it, and as the 60s went into the 70s and the 70s went into the 80s and the 80s went into the 90s. When consent was sort of bubbled up in terms of something that you should be asking consent and shit like that. It was just like that mindset was still like, oh no.
Nah, he went well into the 2000s with it. Consent was just not an issue. Yeah, consent was just.
I think the Hefner story should be obviously. Again, he's dead, but I mean that he has escaped a lot in terms of any sort of scrutiny, and he still has that image. I think even when you see sort of portrayals of him of this doting old man, obviously he's dressed up flamboyantly and all the rest of it, but nothing I've ever seen makes him look like an abuser of women or someone who's overtly taking advantage. I've been seeing something where he's like an old sage who gives advice and then walks off with like 3 women on his hip, and it's supposed to be like there's Hugh doing his thing kind of thing.
And that was his advice. Put Quaaludes in their drink and do what you want.
Hey, before I get out of here real quick, I want to say, Ricky Ryan, Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson. And just like I would look at Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson could do a versus because I put them at a certain level. And then just like I look at Busta Rhymes, the only person that could battle Busta Rhymes is Jay-Z. So I'm gonna say that, and then mine.
Jay-Z can't battle Busta Rhymes.
Jay-Z would lose. I think Busta Rhymes is an unmatchable versus. It's too much.
That's the only person that could go against him.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Jay-Z cannot go against him. Jay-Z might win because he has the hits.
No, they both got hits.
You can't say you can't. No, Jay-Z's got more hits, but he cannot. Jay-Z cannot flow like Busta.
What?
You think Jay-Z is all image?
They both got hits.
But I think you're underestimating how many hits that Busta has been on. It's not just his; it's those appearances. That's why when I forget whose line I'm stealing, but I agree with the point. Busta could win a versus just on his appearances on other people's tracks.
Yeah,
like those alone, I think would beat almost anybody, and would even give Jay a problem.
Rampage said that.
Yeah, Rampage said that. That's right. That's right.
But that's what it is. That's my thoughts. I'll catch you on next break.
Right on. And even in his 50s, when I saw him live, Busta Rhymes had the stage. I mean, it was crazy. Dude is bananas. Anyway, and his lyrical skill is insane too. But anyway, speaking of that real quick, one more time, I want to say we were talking about all these series, the new Magic Johnson Showtime series that has the my favorite Mutiny track as its intro.
Yeah.
Which is a coup track.
Yep.
But you only hear Black Thought's opening verse. Boots's verse is way better, and I hope people go and take this moment and use that energy from the show to go listen to the whole track, because you know, and his first line is "Death to the pigs" is my opening statement, is my basic statement, and it just gets better from there. So anyway.
And real quick before we do another story, I just wanted to pay homage too, since we're on the story about the resources that we're giving to schools. So there's Robert Smith, who gave why are you laughing? He gave the 400 Black student debt. He canceled his pro-Black brother billionaire, and he's all about the community, and he continues to support us. And this is how, you know, the economy should run, and he's doing a great job of helping to support everybody and living his best life. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Oh man, they call me Petty J, but that K get pretty petty too over there, boy. I tell you, boy, them Brooklyn cats, Brooklyn. Speaking of petty, Oklahoma governor signs near total abortion ban, threatens prison for providers. So I think, anyway, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt on Tuesday signed a bill that makes it illegal to perform an abortion in the state, except in medical emergencies, penalizing those who do with up to $100,000 in fines and 10 years in prison. Now, I don't know if this story covers it. I'll look quickly in a second, but did you all, Kamau and anyone else, hear about that there are efforts being made to allow, I think in this provision, for people to snitch on their neighbors if they go to another state to try to get an abortion?
I have not heard that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I heard it being discussed, but never followed it up on my own. So I'll follow up.
What could possibly be the criminal statute that they enact to arrest you for committing something that's not a crime in another state?
I have no idea.
I know, but that's an amazing kind of a web that they're weaving. And I mean, this country is we're definitely going back to a stage where abortion will be illegal, totally banned in certain states, and in others, except for something like a medical emergency, they're going to make it states' rights again. And they're going to be other states where you can get abortions. And I think I heard somebody point out the other day, and this might actually have been Ricky, who said, you know, trust that rich people will get abortions, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be the poor folks who can't travel to other states, who are going to be going back to things like back alley abortions, or doctors who've lost their licenses, or just trying to figure out how to get the pill, but then don't go to the hospital afterwards. because they're scared that they might get arrested now. That's all returning. Abortions aren't going away. What's really going to go away is that what's really going to happen is that people are going to try to make do or do something else and be criminalized for it. And so so it's never a wonder that, again, this patriarchal white supremacist nation that we live in will always take trips to its past, because its past is its present. And so we think that things are codified. We look at some of the stuff now with the carving out of religious freedom as a certain type of constitutional protection, which is beginning to start to be used to challenge things like, I'm not going to serve someone who is LGBTQ, and that's just one step away from, I'm not going to serve someone who is brown or black. I'm just going to say that's all within my religious context to not do. And again, I think those things, they may be a little harder, but those things also will make their way through the court system. And with an extremely conservative court, what you have is the returning of a lot of discriminatory practices that will be codified again in the law.
Listen, I grew up in a household where this was openly, like this was on the tongue and the lips of discussion in our household all the time. And my mother coming of age in the mid 40s and 50s, saw all of it, and was talking with among her girlfriends or family all the time about the importance of having a safe place for women to go, because they're going to do it, and they're going to take incredible risks, sometimes fatal, to have these to have abortions, and the poorest of the poor are the ones that are going to suffer the most. I mean, this is I mean, it's yeah. So it's just crazy. The levels of where people do and don't want intervention is fascinating to me. That is,
yeah, and it's all political ideology. What gets treated as states' rights, and then all of a sudden, what's for the federal government to step in and make decisions, or the court to step in and make decisions, it has nothing to do with what people really think about constitutional interpretation. It's what their ideology tells them, and what they can do a workaround to be able to get in charge with. Right? Yeah. They don't have any sort of steady guide or absolute reasoning on this kind of stuff. So the one moment the state can be all up in your business, but when it's something around gun rights, all of a sudden the state has no place in your business. So I can have 400 guns, I can display them, I can carry them openly, I can shoot people and claim I was standing my ground, and all of that is like, get out of that person's business, right? But on something on this level, it's the state gets to intervene, gets to criminalize, gets to arrest, gets to ask your get your neighbors to arrest you, gets to ask your neighbors, did you go out of town to do ABC? And criminalize. Someone mentioned in the chat having a miscarriage, right? You can't just have a miscarriage. Now you had to be questioned by the police. Well, did you really have a miscarriage?
Wow. The only other thing that I keep wanting to bring up when this happens is a constant reminder is that Karl Rove admitted to using this and gay marriage as an issue specifically to create space for Republicans to get elected. So it's like even among the conservatives, they don't even care about these issues other than a way to manipulate public opinion for votes and to cause confusion. Anyway. So,
because Karl Rove, I'm not saying he's had mistresses, but I'm sure if he needed, if he needed to get something done, or a lot, like you said, a lot of those Republican folks, the problem, they always get caught doing the exact same thing that they claim to be opposed to in some religious way or some personal ideological way. Because you're right, a lot of it is this. We think these issues resonate with the people who we want to be on our side, or in some ways they used to resonate with us before we got money and influence. And so we want to make sure that we can push this stuff along to get people to continue to be on our side. And again, they won't worry about healthcare, free schooling, minimum wage increases, all that stuff is back burner. What's really important is if you can stop a 17-year-old or 18-year-old or 19-year-old or whomever from getting an abortion. That's what your life should really be about.
And a spontaneous abortion, if it's a miscarriage, the medical term, apparently. That's anyway. I think we got a couple more minutes before Ear Doctor jumps back up here. And I don't know if this is redundant. I know you all brought this up to some extent yesterday, but or if this is a follow-up. T.I. speaks on being booed at Barclays Center comedy show. I saw a clip where he was saying it benefited him and that he was grateful for it. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't remember the extent to which you all went into this story yesterday, but having watched the video myself, and by the way, we did this as a sort of as a members only currently, not by myself segment where this came up, and we watched the video. It's currently members only, and will go live as a replacement for my show on Monday, since I'll be out of town. But so I hope you all enjoy it, because we did have some fun. There was some disturbingness in there as well. But we did have some fun. But watching the video, I mean, when he goes up on stage to first of all, he's interrupting a woman who is making fun of him for his sexual abuse allegations, and his response is to go on stage and physically friendly bear hug her to take the mic back. That's probably not the best way to plead your case for being innocent in terms of a sexual violent abuse, whatever charges or allegations. So anyway,
I think he was heckling her from the stage even before, like she brought it up.
Right. That's right.
He was in the audience, I guess, thinking he was being funny and so forth, or deciding that he was going to polish his act, I guess, during her stage time.
Right. So this is just some of the
fight back.
I tell you what you do, envy. I know I got an advantage.
Do some songs. Start rapping.
I have an advantage, nigga.
So I know in watching some of the discussions among comedians, this was part of the problem, that they're saying like he's breaking the rules of comedy, sort of like you're taking up too much time during other people's sets, and then using your ability to sway a crowd with your music to make up for the fact that you don't have any jokes that work, et cetera, and then you because you're famous, you get to be put on all these major tours, et cetera, because comedy house club owners are like, I don't give a damn if you're funny, but you're going to have people in there. Well, I mean, the rules, there's mores or whatever
standards, and
right, exactly. Like if you're at an open mic night, you're not supposed to do a 30-minute set because people are trying to work out their stuff, and you're supposed to get up there and work out your stuff and move on. That kind of stuff is what I'm hearing.
There was a comedian named Godfrey, right? The comedian.
That's right.
He was talking about how he was a closer for a show, and he did his closing act, and then
that's right.
T.I. was in the audience, and then T.I. either asked or someone asked, was like, "Yo, it's okay if we let T.I. do ABC?" And Godfrey was like, I guess, but but he wasn't going to watch him. But the rule is like, he said like, but think about it, right? If T.I. is closing out a concert, and I ask, "Yo, I got these rhymes in my bag," and I get on after him and do some rhymes for the crowd, for the 30,000 in the crowd, whatever. He's like, who's like, what's going to be T.I.'s reaction? What, you crazy? Like,
right.
This is my show or whatever. So I think those, like you said, those sayings mores apply, but I just think T.I. must be bored. or something's
Yeah.
going on in the dude's mind. Because I'm like, I don't understand what is making this dude get up on stage with his horrific comic act and perform, except for being bored out of your mind or something like that. I mean, go buy some shit or whatever. I don't know.
Listen to me. If I get a rare paid gig to be a keynote and Cornell West shows up afterwards and gets on the mic and does a whole hour lecture after I finish, it's going to be problems. It's like, I just, but you know what? Do DJs have this issue? Do DJs, if you rock an ear doctor and you do a set, can a more famous DJ show up and hop on the
Not a more famous DJ, a more famous
right, there you go.
Banker, a more famous banker.
There you
like
go.
everybody know, like Elon Musk, who's only DJ twice in his life, was like, "Yo,
right.
B, can I get up on here and do this?"
That's better.
It's rules to this. There's rules to this. But I would say back to the getting booed. Getting booed is one of the greatest things for artists. I mean, actually, it makes you get better. I've been DJing and nobody got on the dance floor, and I was like, "Oh, I got to come back stronger." So getting booed is a great thing. For those that y'all don't know, go ahead and fail. Failure is success.
And I agree, because hopefully it can also tell you that sometimes you shouldn't be doing what you're doing, as opposed to thinking you're going to get better at it. You can also come out of that thinking, well, I tried it. Was it for me? I'm gonna go produce some white girl rapper to make her.
You know what I think it is? I think T.I. is working on doing the Red Fox movie, so he's getting his reps in.
He's gonna play Red Fox?
You ain't hear from me, but you heard it. I mean, hey, listen to come on, man. Who else you know could probably play Red Fox?
Anybody. I'll think about
anybody.
But the list is long, I'm sure.
Yo, get that man a chance. God damn, boy. I'll be throwing.
We have. Wait a minute. In terms of acting and being in films, I've seen enough. Like I don't think he needs just like when he does the lane where he's like the hitman or the thug on the side, or he does a cameo, that's fine. But I don't think he's shown, like he deserves to leapfrog in front of all these other talented comedians and actors and get a major role like that. And Red Fox is, man, that's serious history now. Like, he was funny, but don't take him lightly. Don't make him he wasn't a joke. You know what I'm saying? He was funny. He wasn't a joke.
I'm saying, man,
he was friends with Malcolm X.
Listen, you remember we didn't think Kevin Hart could pull off a serious role. He's done numerous serious roles.
He did surprise me in that
Netflix special
with Wesley.
Not because it was good, but the role, the character turn,
and the fatherhood joint. The fatherhood joint he did, and the one with the guy in the wheelchair. He's done some good acting. Don't front.
Was that good?
I haven't seen all.
He was the Breaking Bad dude. He was rolling around the Breaking Bad dude.
Yeah. That was a good movie.
I thought that was a buddy comedy. I didn't watch that though. Okay.
It was, but the other ones were serious. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and I can't with y'all. We're gonna go ahead and give a spotlight to an artist, and I'm gonna explain what I talked about earlier. So let's get it.
Finally. Remix.
All right. What's good, everybody? Welcome out. Right now, we want to do a spotlight on a certain artist. Okay, who are we going to talk about today? Since a lot of stuff has been in the air, we've been talking about, why not talk about this brother right here? James Baldwin. That's right. James Baldwin is an American writer and activist. He's known for his essays, his novels, plays, poems. His first novel, Go Tell It to the Mountain, was published back in 1953. Decades later, Time magazine included the novel in his list of 100 best English language novels released from 1923 to 2005. His essay collection, Notes of a Native Son, was published back in 1955. Baldwin's work goes and talks about social and psychological pressures from masculinity, sexuality, race, class, all different types of movements. And he was part of the civil rights movement and the gay liberation movement. Let me see. He's pretty much been dealing with social and self-acceptance in a lot of his early works. From then, his reputation has endured since his death, and his works have been adapted to screenplays. You can also check out Remember This House and a recent movie that came out called If Beale Street Could Talk. This was also turned into a movie and is actually an Academy Award winning movie. So, in addition to writing, Baldwin is also well known for his controversial public figure and orator, especially for his civil rights movements in the USA. That's right. So, other than that, he has a lot of works. He's traveled around with Martin Luther King. When he traveled around with Martin Luther King, he actually got to write 2 essays about traveling around with him. One was called The Hard Kind of Courage, and that was a very good one. He also talked about Malcolm X. He's talked about different people. He was also with who is it? CORE. That's right, Congress of Racial Equality, and also Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. So he's been with different committees working on social change. Same time, he had to deal with a lot due to who his preference. Also, let's not talk about awards. He's got works. We talk about books, essays, plays, audio. Man, you got to go check this brother out. He has a lot of good work, and that is James Baldwin. And now, when I talk about it, when we say, certain people, depending on their preference, they shouldn't be liberators. Now, if I go to why do I go to an alien in the desert and get some water? Because if that alien is about liberation, I don't care what color skin he is. I don't care what planet he is from. I'm about that liberation too. So I'm going to drink that water because it is a resource that we need to make this movement continue. So, like I said, I don't care what you look like. If you're down for the struggle, let's get it. Other than that, that is James Baldwin. Now let's take it back to the Remix Morning Show. All right.
Baldwin's
Thanks for
bio
that,
from
here,
Wikipedia.
doctor.
What you doing? Where you getting a bio from?
What you say?
You reading Baldwin's bio from Wikipedia? Where you getting that bio from?
I don't know, man. You got to go check it out yourself and do your research. That's why I'm here, to just put it out there for you so you can do your own research.
I'll do my own research.
So real quick, every time I hear this, I have a particular memory. So shout out to Dr. Alice Bonner, who during in preparation for my I guess my dissertation defense, or was it my dissertation? My doctoral exams, my PhD exams. She had me read, and this is for media theory and criticism. She had me read Baldwin's Notes of a Native Son, and at the time I remember thinking, what the hell has this got to do with what I'm trying to do? And And I had this. It was one of those moments where it's before marriage, before the kids, before the real world, and I had all this time. And I was living in DC, and went to a cafe early in the morning, sat down, read the book in one day. Just sat there all day and read the book. It was beautiful. It was just a great memory. Nice summertime. It was just sweet. And I went back to Dr. Bonner and I told her, I was like, I had to thank her. And to this day, I thank her as often as I can and remember this particular moment, because the book was I don't remember much of it at this point, but the book was, I remember it was phenomenal and very helpful for my work. And his criticism, James Baldwin said his criticism, what is it? The devil, somebody in the chat knows. It's media criticism anyway, but it was great. So shout out to Dr. Bonner, shout out to James Baldwin, and as to your point here, Doctor, regardless of his preferences,
his preferences.
I know you don't even know what to say now.
There's value there.
He was gay. He was gay.
No, he was gay. That's what I'm just making fun of. Like
he was real gay. Yeah, just say gay. Yeah, but he can't. Because of that, though. Anything else he did, he can't be in the Black liberation Afrocentric struggle. because he didn't procreate with women, so I guess can't be.
And
He
it's
cut
funny.
down.
I had a conversation with someone the other day about being gay and not being able to be a nation builder, not being able to, because some definition of nation building is reproduction, but there's other aspects within nation building that doesn't have anything to do with reproduction, and you need these people for
But,
different.
but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But this is the disingenuousness that came up even in our discussion last week. That we're not at a point where reproduction is a concern. It's not an issue. So, and nobody is saying everybody must be gay, that you can only engage in homosexual activity. It's simply saying that those who do should not be excluded from the community or the struggle. That's so it's
or
like
that everybody must reproduce.
Right.
Or that everybody that reproduces must be in a linear sort of family relation situation. I mean, there's all I just think there's all these ways in which people's narrow definition of family and reproduction should look like that fits their idea, right? And then they want to superimpose that on other people and writ large a nation. So but that leads to nothing but sort of an autocratic rule. So you're going to do the same thing that we're talking about these Republicans doing. So what you going to do? You're going to go break into people's bedrooms and households. We're going back to that where sodomy is going to be illegal. Or fellatio might be illegal because it's not part of the reproductive system directly. So who and so
damn
all
that
kind of stuff.
Damn that.
Can't ban that.
Damn that. That's
you're gone too far.
Now you're gone too far. Now you had all of that. I was with all of them on that. Ban everything. Stop all of it. Wait a minute.
Come on now.
Now you're going too far. No, all of that. Look, again, my thing is, look, people, in some settings, people are clearly more interested in getting the gotcha moment and that quick win than the real win that I think we should be focused on. So,
yeah, I mean, just like we say,
no, Luke.
It's putting the sperm in the wrong place. You can't. I don't care where it's going if it ain't going where it needs to go for reproductive purposes.
Yeah,
none of that.
Oh,
I mean, just like we say, not all skin folk is kinfolk. It's not really about your outside, your gender, whatever. It's about what's your action, what's your motive, what you trying to do. Are you trying to make this happen or not? That's how I look at it.
No cunnilingus. No, you damn right. Somebody put that up there. Nope.
Nah, that's
all banned, B. That's banned now.
It's like I'm a vegetarian, but stop playing.
And no masturbation either.
Nope.
So
that's a waste.
Put all that away too.
Mm-hmm.
But so anyway, that's
get it done. Transfer that sperm. Bam. That's it. That's the whole purpose of it. That's nation building.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, I did have something I lost my train of thought on that one. That's fine. So look, there are some other things happening in the world, in this great space we all share called the world. Some of which, let's see. So we got an annual wholesale inflation of 11.2% in March. So again, my cola is not looking too good right now. My 4% cola is not looking too good if there's going to be an 11% rise just in March. All right. Wholesale prices jumped 1.4% in March and from February to hit an 11.2% annual increase okay, so wait a minute. What did the headline say? This headline is not matching this sentence here. So the jump was 1.4% in March from February to hit an 11.2% annual increase as widespread inflation affecting the U.S. economy is showing no signs of letting up. The numbers released on Wednesday follow an 8.5% annual rise of consumer prices announced Tuesday, the highest increase since 1981, December 1981. Yeah, so this is just, again, I can't get past it. This does not look good for my cola. My
Not
4%
at all, B.
goal is
Not at
not
all.
looking good at all. So
The gas
I don't know.
gas prices are up, food prices are up, housing materials is up, which means the mortgages are going up, rents are going up. It's all going up.
Look, we had to make a
Your
family
cola is not
decision.
going to get through that.
We had to make a family decision over the weekend. It was take a day trip, as a family, couple hour drive to hang out, or send the children to college. And we chose the day trip. So all of their college money is in the gas tank. So sorry, girls. Good luck. Peace.
Maybe some billionaire
Maybe a billionaire
will come around.
Maybe the next black male billionaire with his white wife will come around and give
That's how the economy works. That's how the economy works. Because at the same time, we're talking about that. Most of these, like Exxon, Texaco, all these oil companies, these are talking about record profits, right?
Oh yeah.
With Iran oil off the market, Russia oil off the market, Venezuela oil off the market, even though they're trying to get some of that back in the market through the U.S. All of that is, again, whether or not you want the primary way in which energy is used to be, or energy usage is to be through oil, right now, that is the primary way in which things are powered. And all those things are off the market. And who's paying? They're not lowering their salaries commensurate with like, oh, okay, we can't charge this much. No, they're raising prices.
That's
so
right.
They can keep their salaries and keep their profit margins the same. So the only one who's coming out on the bottom end are working class people and below, who have to make choices in their lives.
That's right. And then we also, we went to see our tax man yesterday, in fact. And there's no grace period this year. Like
oh yeah, it's back to regular, right? Yeah, unless you file for an extension, you gotta get them in.
Yeah, and same thing there. Like, it's like, I would have no problem giving up those taxes if we had healthcare and free education and working bridges and water and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking at the tax bill. I'm like, so which war is this funding? Which Zionist occupation is this? Like, what is this going to? Like, exactly. What is it? Because goddamn. Anyway, they're like, my cola's gone. That gross income is just gone. It's just a mess out here, even for working people. We got 2 working people in this house. Anyway, need to get 4. Tell them kids to get up. Work. What you need school for? Now I get it.
You gotta flip some burgers, B. I don't understand.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta put some.
Your allowance just got cut.
You want to ride to school? You got 5 on it? You know what I'm saying? It's like a ride to school.
Get some TikTok video up there and make some money.
You know
Bring some income in. I understand.
You better JoJo Siwa some money around here or something.
Get the dancing, B. What's going on?
You better get out there. Yeah, it's anyway. All right, so new Philadelphia police headquarters sculpture. Oh, wait a minute. Let me reread that. I'm new Philadelphia police headquarters sculpture recasts city seal with focus on Black history abolitionists. Wait, whoa, what? Okay. The Philadelphia Police Department is moving into its new headquarters on North Broad Street in the former Enquirer newspaper building. As police officers and administrators walk through the front door of what is now the Police Public Safety Building, they will pass by a giant police badge 9 feet tall hanging in the window. If they look closely at the sculpted replica of the police badge featuring the official city seal at the center, viewers may notice that it does not look like a standard badge. Historically, the seal has featured 2 allegorical female figures representing concepts of peace and plenty. But the figures in this sculpture are real historical Philadelphia women representing the city's actual abolitionist in Black history, suffragist Lucretia Mott and Black poet Frances Harper. The sculpture called Let Love Endure by artist Donald Lipsky was commissioned as part of the city's 1% for Art program, which mandates that 1% of renovation costs of the public building must be spent on public artwork. So I thought we were about to read that they put Mumia and Pam Africa on the joint, but Lucretia Mott and Frances Harper. So I know we all feel better. Shout out to Philly police. Everybody feels better. On your way to being booked and beaten, and you will get to look at some famous Black artists. I mean, it's great. You know,
As you're being
fantastic.
reintroduced into slavery, you'll get to pass by.
Right. That's it. We're going to march you back into slavery while having you look at abolitionists on the wall. That's even more cold-blooded. Somehow it's even more cold-blooded.
It's just amazing when we get, I mean, and it's like the symbolism rules. It's like, look, we've done a great thing. And I, again, I want to shit on the artist who put their hearts into it, who, but who thinks that this is somehow some huge moment of reform or abolition that they put the slavery abolition on there.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is what this is how they're going to respond to the call for abolition, by putting pictures of abolitionists on police
from
stuff.
enslavement time.
From enslavement.
Yeah.
Right.
If you mention abolition, any abolition of the police now, of course, then you'll be heckled the same way that those abolitionists were heckled back during that time, as someone who's crazy out of their mind, who doesn't understand the needs of safety or anything of the like. So no, there's a lot of irony, and none of them see it, which is the amazing part. They're all hand gladding and smiling and clapping like they've done such a great thing, and none of them can see the irony in it whatsoever. So yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Runs the country or runs the city.
So we've run through Erica's stories. I don't know if you have one. I did pull up one that we referenced earlier that we can come back to. But I don't know if you had something you wanted to bring up before we got out of here this morning.
No, you can bring that one up. We've done a good job of like bringing up all the stories.
All right. Well, so I just wanted to go back because I mentioned it earlier. I did want to come back to it because it is a pet peeve of mine, et cetera, and so forth. But this is the story that I was talking about earlier, that Congress details allegations of commanders' unlawful conduct to the Federal Trade Commission. The Washington Commanders and owner Daniel Snyder may have engaged in troubling, long-running, and potentially unlawful pattern of financial conduct that allegedly involved withholding as much as $5 million in refundable deposits from season ticket holders, and also hiding money that was supposed to be shared among NFL owners, according to a letter sent from the House Committee on Oversight, Reform, and Federal. So this is actually a little bit worse, Kamal, than what I said earlier, because not only is Dan Snyder ripping off his fellow white billionaire owners, but he's also ripping off a majority of white affluent fans that attend the games. So he's really targeting he's pushing all of the get you out of here buttons.
Exactly.
that if there are any that would be pushed. Anyway, that was
hiring a black coach or not never will get you fired. Taking a quarterback and banning them for the league for standing up for something that they believe in. You can still be an owner for dozens of years after that. No, you're right. He's centered again, hiding information on the danger of brain injuries and that kind of stuff. Is like you've gotten us for 3 more years to not have to worry about bad media about this. So that don't get you thrown out. But this stuff will get you. There'll be some serious, unless he's going to come up with that cash, which I see is the other way around. It's some big penalty they make him pay, or he increases over the next few years his percentage of revenue given for revenue sharing. Other than that, and what they will do, of course, is they won't blame it on the fact that he didn't give the revenue. They'll just go dig in and find some racialized statement he's made, some prejudicial statement, and use that as the public lever for why we're going to get rid of you, as opposed to all the other dirty things that he actually did, which really will cause his downfall. So those are the codes
Those are the
So are
lines.
other
you
people
can't cross.
besides you calling them the commies though? Or was that just a Jared thing? Is that
No, I'm
basically
taking that.
talked about-
No. But that was the thing. I'm taking that from. So what this is what I love about these YouTube streets. When the news broke of the new name, I just searched YouTube, and what I found was, this is not scientific, but it was an overwhelming. It felt at least 75% of the videos that were coming up were some sort of variation of "I hate the name," and in particular, and then they would reference this. They said this. I didn't even come up with it. In one video in particular, he goes into this whole Red Scare montage with Karl Marx, and he's like, they're gonna call it the Commies. This is the worst name in the world. Why didn't you call it this or call it that? So they're the ones. And so it was seeing all of their anger at that name that makes me now happy. Like, if they're going to be that angry that people are going to, like, that's what I'm saying. I want to get the Karl Marx, like, Blaze Washington Commies shirt, and like go full into
lean
it.
in. I like it.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Oh wait, Ricky's there already is one. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm of course I'm not coming up with this. Of course I'm not. I want in. So if that's, so that's what I was saying. If you're going to get rid of Dan Snyder and be called the Commies, man, I might.
But will they win games?
Probably not. But that doesn't
Let's
even
see, that
matter.
doesn't
That's
matter.
the beauty of NFL revenue sharing. You can suck for decades and make billions of dollars. That's the beauty. The team hasn't won a meaningful game since 1991. And or the January of 1992, and they're one of the most valuable franchises in the NFL, and maybe even in the world still. I mean, there's a lot of money in that. So at least with the old name, I don't know about the new name. Maybe they lost stock value, but anyway, but they might get this fan back. And I know that's
you might watch it on
missing
TV.
right now.
You're gonna buy. I don't see you buying no tickets.
No, I don't see me doing. I don't even see me doing any of that. Yeah, I would tune in long enough to see if they say Commies on TV. Like, I would do that. Like, if the announcer says, yeah, and some of these are out here calling it Commies, it's the Commanders. Like, I would tune in for that. But no, I can't see actually, tailgating and paying money and investing thought and all of that energy like I used to, all of that stuff. Yeah. The Washington offense is stalling in the second. It's stalling in the second half. Yeah, exactly. They write themselves. This is great. That might have me tuning in. That's what I'm saying. Is there going to be like an undercover lefty commentator who wants to get his Marx references in during a broadcast and now has finally gotten a way to do it? Is Troy Aikman quietly reading Lenin in preparation for next year's broadcast?
Never that. Never.
You don't think so? I don't know. It's probably got the same chance as my 4% cola.
I thought it was 6%. Was it 4?
Nah, it was 4%.
Oh, my
the
bad.
press release that Morgan put out said it was 9% pay raises across the board. But you had to read the fine print. It was really slick. It was really slick. They were counting all of these things and things that, and they said, if you are selected for something, you get this other percent. So it's like, it's not something that's going to everybody. It's the only thing that's going to everybody is the 4%.
4%, the
standard cola. Yeah, the passing game is missing their marks. Exactly.
Well, for David, this is right up his alley. He should have his own sports show, so he could do the Pun Olympics. It is just right up his alley. So
if they're starting at the 50 line mark, yeah, that's it. That's it.
Happy
so, anyway, listen, I know we only got a couple minutes left. We're rounding out. I don't know if Ear Doctor is coming back for a closing mix. I don't know if we've raised the standard for that, but I just do want to encourage everybody to continue to support the channel and all the new programming that's coming out. A lot of videos dropping almost daily at this point. So please make sure you have the bell, notifications on and all that good stuff. The remix, of course, will be back again tomorrow morning. For its Thursday's Friday, right?
And hopefully I won't be confused, and so I'll know to come on tomorrow and know that that's Thursday and not Friday.
Yeah, you do need to be there tomorrow. Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, the press release came out, said 9%, and I was like, word? I was like, word, maybe my kids can go to college. But what I did look up, by the way, if you're a Maryland professor, so in state, if my children go to Morgan State, they go for free. If they go to anywhere else in the University of Maryland system, they can go for half price. So, you know, and they all have these fantasies about where they want to go. So I'm like, well, I mean,
when I went to CUNY was so you know, with obviously the history of CUNY in New York was, for a long time, CUNY was free. It was one of those institutions where if you lived in New York, you got free college tuition. And then, of course, as soon as Black folks started going in larger numbers, part of it was also some of the financial crisis that was taking place, I believe, in the late 70s. They started adding tuition cost to CUNY. But even during that time, relatively speaking, when I went in the 80s, the late 80s, early 90s, still relatively affordable. But I remember I worked my way through undergrad and paid my tuition through my job. And for grad school and going to Brooklyn College, I paid all of that too through working. So you know, obviously there was some financial aid, but for the most part, it was grants, and I didn't come out with any debt from undergrad to grad. Of course, when I went to law school, that was a different story. You can't pay that out your pocket and shit like that. But there was once a system where you could do that. You could either pay or have an expectation that you can get a higher degree and carry on with a quote unquote career goal without having all of this excess debt on your back. So
we not promoting trade schools no more.
I think trade schools are good, viable options for folks.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't think trade schools are a bad idea. I don't think people all have to go to college. I think people learning trades and professions, electricians and all that kind of stuff, people become far more self-sufficient. Do things that people like me, you know, I got to stand around and watch and pay people to do and fix things in my house that I can't fix myself. And some of them make, again, decent, when it's going well, they can make decent living wage resources out of it. So I think trade schools are an added benefit. That's something that people should do. In fact, I think the German economy has a system where they not only sort of evaluate for college, but for folks who wanted to go into trade schools, those are treated similar to colleges where they get paid for also. So people are encouraged to have diversified work lives and not everything being, unless you go to college, then you're a nobody kind of thing. So
yeah, I told my son, if you don't get a scholarship, you better start looking at trade school. I ain't paying for college. Why? Go put yourself in debt. That's the stupidest thing ever.
But there could be some benefits. You know what I mean? Again, they're not. I think the stat is still there, right? For Black college grads, they on average make less than white non-college graduates. So it ain't like it's
but more than other Black working people without college degrees.
Yeah, but they do make more than but Black college graduates make more than people who don't have Black folks who don't have college degrees, right?
Right.
So obviously,
but less than white people without a college degree.
Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, on those scales, until people are really taking stuff into their own hands and people are surviving in their lives, these options are things that people sometimes need to take or will take, because it allows them to do other things with their lives that they would not have been able to do. So,
I mean, if you get a scholarship, you're pretty much telling me, okay, I'm ready for college. How many of us went to college, didn't even know what we was going to do? We just went because we was told, all right, go to college after high school.
Oh, that was me.
That's overwhelmingly I mean, even, it would have been me if I not, been interrupted with arrest and military service. But look, I think that they're doing it the way I did it only has value because I can look back and say that I did undergrad, graduate school, and a PhD without having to work, I was a fully invested student. I read more. I mean, I had such a good time intellectually that it does bring me some peace when I see that bill that I'll never pay off today. But strategically, financially, it wasn't the best option. But there are ways I think that you can assume some debt, get the degree that is in a field that works for you and that will potentially lead you to being able to pay off. I mean, there are ways to do it. It's just not in general. The way I did it was not the way to do it financially speaking. But there are, it just depends on who you are and what the specific work and field you want to do, how much the exact total of the bill is going to be. All of that has to be factored in. But none of it should be an issue. That's all.
Because I got a degree in African studies. What I'm going to work at a museum or be a professor? That's like, what else?
Well, if you want to study it, then that's what you should do.
African studies and hip hop, I'm using right here on Black Power Media. I didn't
even say quickly. I studied is a strong word, of course. I majored in, and no offense to anybody else who's majored in anything like this, but it was one of those, like you're mentioning here, doctor, what the hell am I going to do to get a degree? Why am I here?
Yeah.
I got nothing else to do right now. I might as well come here. Marketing management. So, wow. And I'm not saying nothing about the marketers out there, but I just don't know if you needed a 4-year degree in marketing management, or what I got my degree in, kind of thing.
Right.
Which is just basically telling people how to consume or the right ways to consume and all that kind of good stuff. It wasn't until that time period that it allowed me to, and I compliment college. For me, yes, you are in some kind of,
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, you are some sort of.
My camera just went blurry. I don't know what happened. It's like,
your computer been bugging today, man. Your computer been bugging today.
I was gonna say, this is what happens when you can't pay your bill.
There you go. You back.
Oh, hey, he's back.
The best thing about school was that it gave me an opportunity to have access to a library, to read,
right,
to begin to study about something I did become interested in, which was the history of Black struggle, and to learn from that. And that part of college was fantastic. Yeah. So it wasn't about, the classes and what I took, or even sort of camaraderie of other students. It was getting access to the library and sort of walking down that path. And that was the best thing about undergrad for me.
Yeah, I would say college was more for personal growth. I mean, I did a lot of networking, met a lot of people. And then at that time, I was able to become more of a man, make my own decisions and stuff like that. Because that's the first time you out of the house. So you really start to mature. So that's what it's good for. Other than that.
Well, anyway.
On that
note, I don't want to do the Kanye college dropout thing. But, look, appreciate everybody. It was another great show. Shout out again to Sister May, Erica for helping out behind the scenes, all the remixers, of course, my colleagues, co-hosts, comrades, co-conspirators, etc., so on and so forth. Like Fred said, peace. You're willing to fight for it. See you tomorrow.
Hey.